So I feel like Nameless is the hardest boss in the vanilla game, and Freed is probably the hardest boss overall. But I would say probably without question Midir is the hardest boss in the Ringed City. Yes, I do think Freed is harder than Midir. But this is when you first encounter Midir, and it's not that difficult to manage him here. Like, you have to knock him off this if you actually want to fight him. I just wail on his hand. Now when he does this, I always run behind the rock. It's just a safe way to not get hit by the fire. Run back, hit him on the hand, rinse, repeat. Now this attack right here seems like it might be dangerous, but all you have to do is just stand, because that attack goes in a straight line, and as long as you're outside of the path, you won't be hit. So once his health is down to a certain point, he'll kind of go batshit crazy and go into like this berserk mode, which I think he does right here. Yeah, he fucks me just a little bit, and he can knock you off this bridge, so you have to be careful. I did not play this very intelligently. That's alright. I have a decent amount of vitality to deal with it. So once you stagger him and take the riposte, you knock him down into his cave, and then you can just run and do the fight proper, which I think is fucking amazing. I think this is the best dragon fight that they've done across all the games, better than Calamite. It's so refined and so elegant, and I think it's a perfect boss fight. I love it. So the first time you drop down, you may be able to do this on other attempts if you die, but certainly on the first you can run in and get some smacks to his head, and he will always open with this move. So you can roll under him, you can roll to the side, but you don't want to really be in its path necessarily, because there are lots of ways that it can fuck with you. So if he does this, he's going to try and lunge forward and bite you. Just be careful of that. He'll do 2 tries right here to bite you. You can usually get 1 to 2 hits on his head. Now this, I mess up right here, but you can iframe through it. Here in a second, I show you how to actually deal with it. So yeah, I mean, the one thing that I can say for Midir, and this is true of a lot of bosses, is you really just want to stay on him. You really don't want a lot of distance. This is especially true in the second phase, because he has a pretty powerful attack at range that you kind of don't want. If he does this, just roll to the side where the flames aren't going. So right there, they were leaning towards the left, so roll to the right. The best attacks to get are the melee attacks when he's doing swipes, because he leaves his head open. Okay, so here, you can just roll right there. It's not that tricky to iframe, but maybe it takes a little getting used to. So his melee attacks, his swipes, are fucking awesome, because he leaves his head open for a decent amount of time to get some good hits in. And I try to stay buffed with lightning as best I can during this, and I try to keep my health full for Lloyd's sword ring. But I mean, one of the biggest tricks to this fight, I mean, this is going to sound real fucking obvious, is to, be somewhat familiar with his moveset. You can also iframe through that, but I'm not that great at doing that. So yeah, I mean, it sounds fucking obvious, right? Like, knowing his moveset. But I think staying in front of his head and baiting out those melee attacks like this is always a good idea. And he has, I think, 3 different melee sets. Like, this is one. The one, I think, where he slams his whole body down is my personal favorite. So always just roll to the side where the flames aren't going. And here in a second, he will start to buff to go into his second phase. This attack is really good. He will do this dark beam, and you can just go to the side of it, and then he'll do a swipe, but you are able to sort of run like a semicircle, sort of, and get into his head. Now, this is deceptive because you can actually be much closer to him than you think you probably ought to be when he does that dark explosion, but it's a good time to punish his head. Now, he doesn't do it here, but he has a couple of attacks where he will summon like dark sprites to sort of home in on you. They're fairly easy, you just roll. But the one attack he has in his second phase is when you are at a distance, when you are at range. It's a series of dark attacks that can be really, really devastating, and you don't want that. So I highly recommend in his second phase that you just stay on him. And once his health is down fairly low, you will get the stagger, the riposte, and the best dragon fight FromSoft has ever done.